Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Andrew Townsend. I'm an e-learning evangelist here at eLearning Brothers. Today, we're going to be talking about creating a dial in PowerPoint, creating great graphics and visuals in PowerPoint. To talk to us about that, we have Nic Brown, our Director of Product and Design, with us. Thanks for joining us today, Nic. This webinar will be recorded. We'll get a copy of it emailed out to all of you, all those who have registered, and we'll also post it on our website later this week in the blog, so you can come and review the information there. If you have questions during the webinar, we'll be ready to answer those questions in the questions panel, so feel free to use that. And any questions that we don't get to due to time, we'll try to get that answered for you in the webinar recap later in the week. Just so you know, one of the things we like to do after the webinar is try to follow up as soon as possible. Sometimes it's just to get feedback. Most of the time we would like to touch base and find out if anyone needs some one-on-one clarification about the webinar topics after the fact. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you, Nic.
Great. Thanks, Andrew, and to all those who are here with us today. So just as Andrew mentioned, I'm going to show you how to create a custom dial graphic in PowerPoint. So to start off, let me preview my slides. You can see the piece that we're going to try to create. And there's a little animation in here. Go back and do it again for you so you can see. One more time. All right, so this is the piece that we are going to try to recreate today. If I go to my next slide, you can see all the elements pulled apart that kind of show you all of our layers that we have here. And as you can see, there's really not that much involved. It's just a matter of those details that are included that make it look as neat as it is. So I'm going to go to a blank slide, and I'm going to start by drawing an ellipse. And I'm going to arrange it, align it center, horizontally, and vertically on my screen. And this is going to be important because it'll be really easy to align all of our pieces together this way. Now, you're going to want to have your format object panel open for most of this because we're going to be in there a lot. So one way is right click on your object and then go to format shape. That'll open up our panel right here. The other way to do that is click on your object and go to format object right here. So we're going to start off with this base piece right here. And as you can see, it has a gradient fill. So I'm going to go to gradient, and I'm going to select radial. And then from here, we're going to go from our center out. And then I just have these two colors selected. Depending on your branding or what you already have included in your design, you may want to change that to be greens or reds. But for this one, I'm going to use this blue and this other blue here. Okay, next piece is we want to set up this sort of 3D inset piece. So to do that, the easiest way is to copy and paste this graphic. So Command C, Command V on a Mac. And then I'm going to align center and middle. Then I'm going to want to scale this down. And the best way is to hold down Shift and Control because that will keep our proportions the same and scale from our center in. So as I click that, you see that it's being scaled in evenly around all the edges. Now I'm going to want to get rid of our stroke on this, our outline. So I'm going to click on No Line. And then for this piece, you can see here, it's this one. We want to have a slight gradient from white to a light gray. And that's just going to show kind of our highlight and our shadow, so it kind of gives it a 3D effect. So I'm going to change this to linear, and then click on this blue color here and change it to white, and then click on this darker blue, and let's see how this gray looks here. And then we're going to change our direction to 90 degrees. So we're going from white to light gray. And I think I want to show a little more highlight. So I'm going to bring this white in a little bit closer there. So now our white starts from about there and it goes to our light gray. Okay, now to build the rest of the inset pieces here, these other two, we're just going to copy and paste again. So Command C, Command V, and then again align center and middle, and then hold down Shift and Control, and we're going to scale this down just a little bit. Now, because our gradients are the same, it's a little harder to see. And what we want to do is switch our gradient from light to dark to light. And that's going to give us our highlight on the bottom as if there's this inset piece. So you can go up here to our direction, and you see that we have from top to bottom, and we can go from bottom to top, just like that. Or if I undo that, you can drag these gradient sliders around as you'd like. And maybe I want a little darker or a little lighter here and there. Okay. And then we need one more of these pieces. So I'm going to select this one and again, copy and paste and align to our center and middle and resize it a little bit smaller. Again, it's hard to tell because our gradients are the same. Hold down Shift and Control, and then we can then change our direction again back to top and bottom instead, like so. And then if you want to play with the size a little bit, maybe you don't like as much happening there, you can adjust as needed. Okay, next piece is this sort of ring that's going to go around the inset piece. You can see right there. So we're going to copy and paste this larger ellipse. And again, we're going to align center, align middle, and we don't want to have a fill on this one. We want to have a stroke. So we're going to add a line, and this is going to be a gradient line. And I only want two colors on this. We want our light blue and a little bit of a lighter blue here. You can see that has the transparency brought down a little bit on it. And let's see, I lost it there. I will adjust that in just 1 second again. So we can get rid of two of these, and we want to change this to my light blue. This one's also my light blue, but we want to bring down the transparency a little bit on it. All right. Now, let me adjust this one again. Align center, align middle. Now, in order to see that ring, we want to add an outer glow. You can see there's kind of this outer glow to this larger ellipse here in the middle. So my settings for that are this. It's a black outer glow and it's pretty close to being transparent all the way. You can see, and I like using black because you can adjust it pretty easily to be really dark or really light as well. So we're going to click on this ellipse here, and we're going to go to glow, change that to black. I think I had it set to pretty close to 30 points, and then it was like 90% transparent. There. Now, because of this, let me zoom in a little bit. Because this ellipse is below this ring ellipse here, you can now see that easier. And I'm going to adjust this line stroke maybe to be maybe 2 points instead. So it's a little bit easier to see. Okay. Next, let's build our dial line. So for this one, you want to draw a line and pretty close to the same height as our largest ellipse here. I want this to be a gradient line as well. And we're just going to do 2 colors, and it's going to go from our light blue to our darker blue. But, and let me adjust the width of this. Maybe I want it to be 5 or so points instead. Or maybe we can go up to 8. Yeah, that's better. Now, the easiest way to animate this, because the anchor point is always set to our center of this line, it's going to be, the way that we're going to hide this other part is to take our transparency down all the way. So now you can't see that other part of our line. And then we're going to bring this send to the back and then bring it up 1 layer. There we go. So now when I animate this line, it will look like it just half of it is being moved around. And then you can also play with the end caps of your line. I think on my other version, I have it set to round. Yeah, just like that. And then we also have an outer glow on this piece as well. Let's see what those settings are. So I have it set to that lighter blue color, 26 point and 82% transparent. So let's go here. Outer glow is going to be this light blue color, 20 pixels and 82 transparent. All right. Okay, now let's build our numbers or our tick points. So I'm going to insert text box. And I'm just going to start this at 0. We're going to align our text to the center of our box. And maybe I want this bold, and I want this color to match better. So I'm going to go with one of these darker blues. And maybe I think that this line is a little bit too long, so I'm going to resize it just a little bit. And then I'm going to arrange this, or align it, sorry, middle. There we go. Now it is centered on our page. All right. So this number, I'm going to hold down Option on a Mac, or Control, or Alt, sorry, if you're on PC, to copy it and drag it. And we can align this also to the center. Oops, align the middle is what you want to do instead of this one. There we go. And maybe I'll set this 25 or whatever number you need to display visually. And use my keyboard to move it over a little bit, give a little nudge. And then click on this number and hold down Option again to copy and drag over to this side. And the same thing for the 0. We're going to hold down Option and click and drag to move that up. Then I can change this to 50 and this to 75. Okay, now to do the rest of our tick marks in between these, I could draw a line and rotate it, but I want to use text for it, and I will show you why a little bit later. But I'm going to copy this again, and I'm going to change this to the vertical pipe, which is you hold down Shift and then the backslash to get this straight line. And then because I don't need to display exact numbers, I just need kind of a visual way to show from here to there. I'm just going to visually rotate this how I feel like it fits best in this space. And if you need exact numbers, you can rotate exactly as needed. But I don't need to for this instance. Oops, undo that. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, make it easier to click on these. All right, now let's take a look at this and see where we have these placed. So these numbers are here, and these tick marks looks like they're about maybe 45 degrees, maybe they're 22 degrees rotated from that. So what I could do instead to make it exact, is I'm going to get rid of this actually, and I'm going to select these 4 numbers, and I'm going to copy and paste, and I'm going to rotate them. Sorry, I have to group them first. So Option Command G to group, and then I can rotate them holding down Shift like so, and then we can align these back on our page. And then I can add in a vertical pipe to these. So now they are in the right spot as far as where these need to go, and I can ungroup them. And then I can rotate these as needed to fit. Oh. There we go. And then you can adjust as you need to where you feel like they need to fit depending on what it is that you need to display. So with these grouped again, I'm going to copy and paste. And then we're going to align this. And then I'm going to rotate. So these are kind of more in the middle of those tick marks. And then I'm going to copy and paste those ones again and align center, middle. I'm going to go the other direction. Now, this is the part I'm going to show you why I used a text box rather than having to draw a line for each of these. Because it's actual text, I can increase or decrease our point size. And so if these tick marks aren't as important to me, I can make them smaller. So I make these 14. Automatically, it just adjusts them in place for me. Oops, undo that and click on this group that we have. Do the same thing. And maybe I want those to be even a little bit smaller. I can go down to 10 point instead. It's a really easy way to make things larger and smaller without having to readjust all your pieces. Okay, so I'm liking how that looks. Let's now add our outer rings. So you can see that we have 2 here. One's this sort of inside piece that looks like it's being lit by our dial itself. So what we want to do there is select this outer ellipse. We're going to copy and paste, and I'm going to get rid of the fill on it. And again, we're going to align center, middle, and let's maybe make it 3 points thick. And then we're going to do a gradient, and we're doing 2 colors here. So because I want to show kind of a highlight and a shadow on it, we need to choose a little bit darker blue than what's here already. So I already have one selected here, And then our lighter color can be the blue that we are using already. You can see it kind of has a shadow here, and then we have this highlight here. And maybe want to make this a little bit thicker. Let's go with the 5 points. That looks good. Okay, now for the outermost ring, this one here, that's this piece right here. We can select the one that we just created and zoom out just a little bit here. And we can copy and paste. And as you can probably guess, we're going to align middle and center. You can see it's very helpful to have this aligned from the start to make all of your pieces aligned very easily. So from here, we want to do the same gradient as what's being treated here. So we're going to go from a white to a light gray. So we're going to click on this dark blue, change this to our white, and this lighter blue to one of our grays. And might want to go a little bit darker to have a little more of contrast on it. Okay, then we need to increase the size of this. So hold down Shift and Control and drag it out, maybe about there-ish, and then we can adjust the width of our line. Let's see what 10 points look like. 10 point looks like. Yeah, I think it looks good. So from here, I can then hold down Shift and Control to resize it down to where it needs to fit right over top of there. And just to make sure we did this, let's align it one more time. Make sure I got it there. Okay, so zoom in. Yes. The preview just looks like it has a gap there. Really, there's not one. Okay, so one of the last things is this piece has an outer glow to it as well. So we have this darker blue set to 45 point and about 80% transparent. So we're going to select this, go to this dark blue, 45 point and 80% transparent. And zoom out a little bit here, you can kind of see it adds this nice little effect here. Okay, before we animate this, you probably need to have some sort of way to display some text here for what your metrics are, and I just have this text here. I'm just going to copy and paste it, put it on top, and we're going to align center and middle. Okay, so we're getting pretty close. So for the animation, I guess maybe before we do that, we'll ask Andrew if we have any questions so far on any of this.
We don't have any questions as of yet. Now's a chance. I know a lot of people have been paying attention, so they're not putting together questions or using the questions panel. If you guys have any questions at this point about which hotkeys to use or keyboard shortcuts or anything about this dial, now's your chance. Nick is using a Mac, not a PC, but in generally we found that a lot of the keyboard shortcuts are very, very similar. A lot of them, even the control key was the same.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't look like we've got any questions. It's pretty straightforward.
Great.
So we'll come back
yeah.
for questions in a few minutes.
All right, so the animation, you want to open up your animations panel. And as you can see in this one, we have the spin animation, and you can adjust how far it rotates right here with your property panel. So let me click on this piece. We're going to apply the spin. And let's just say I want to do a half spin, 180, and I want to have a smooth start and a smooth end. And I can play this here. If you need to go even further, you can adjust this at a custom rotation, 270. Let's see how that looks. Yeah. I'm just going to preview this. So go to this last slide. There we go. And there you have it. So at first glance, it might seem like it's pretty complex, and it does have a lot of pieces and has layers to it. But really, overall, as long as things are layered correctly and you set up your workspace at first to help with your alignment, this really is not that hard to build. And then you can adjust all your colors, your sizes. You can add more layers to give it even more depth. We will upload this file for you in our free library so that you have access to it directly. And if you want some more awesome graphics, we have a library that has just graphics and pieces for PowerPoint users. Some are animated, some are not. There's charts, there's graphs, there lots and lots of things in there for you.
All right, great, Nick. We have quite a few questions coming in now.
Oh, good.
The first one is, can you use reference variables for the dial? Or do you, for example, percent, metric, percent? Or do you have to use the animation that you were showing?
I'm actually not sure. I didn't go into this all that deep. The easiest would be just to do the built-in animation that's there for you.
Another person wants to know if this is a common issue or if they're the only ones. Does Mac seem to have issues publishing as MP4 for PowerPoint, or have you had any issues with that?
I haven't really had a lot of experience with that. I don't think I really export files to MP4s. Usually I just leave them as presentation to view each slide at a time.
Okay, if you wanted to move this completed dial around, how do you move everything to a different spot?
That's a good question. Okay, so I would click and drag to select everything that's here. You can right click and go to group, and that way it's all one piece, so you move it around from there.
There's another question. Can you export this for use in other tools such as Storyline, Lectora, Captivate?
You could export all the pieces, but not the, well, you actually probably could export it as an animation file. I just don't know exactly how it would be displayed, and if you could have an alpha to have it be blank around here. But you could for sure export all your pieces and graphics and then reanimate it.
Okay, that's a question that we'll bring up to Adam Cannon. Some of you may know Adam Cannon, and we'll see if we can't get that question answered in the
that's a great idea.
Follow-up.
Yeah, that's great.
Another question here is, do you know of any way to randomize the finish point for the animation?
I do not. Again, sorry, I didn't go into too much more depth than the graphics and just a basic animation, but that is a thing that we can look into and see as a more advanced option.
Okay, another question here is, can you demonstrate how you hid half of the pointing line on the dial?
Oh, yes. Yep. All right, let me ungroup this. And let me zoom in. So the trick around this is you have a gradient set from blue to blue, but you set this endpoint here, which is this one, you set its transparency to 100%, so it doesn't show up like so.
And that's just adjusting one side of it.
Correct.
So it is still there.
It is.
Okay.
And the reason that it's still there is because the animation, it animates from our center point. And so if I only had this drawn to here, the animation that happens on it, let me show you. Oh, it's gone. I'll go back over here on this one. So if I were to adjust this line to only come in here, which is how you normally see that on a dial, and you click on play animation, it rotates it from our center point, which is right here now. And so we need to have it to be the full width of this to animate from our center point, which is right here.
Another question along that the same lines is when you extend or shorten the length of that line, what's the best way to keep it from moving all over the place? You hold Control and move the end of the line, or do you hold Shift? What's the shortcut for that?
So if you hold down Shift, it will stay within the same line that it's in currently. And also, as you see these dots show up on other shapes, that shows kind of like your standard rotation.
Okay, awesome. Now you did mention that this is going to be going into the free library. This will be the PowerPoint file. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and take the screen back for a moment here. What we are going to try to do is get all of these working assets to you in the free library so that you can have access to that and practice this on your own. By all means, if you don't already have a free library account, go and grab one. If you have questions or issues about getting a free library account, or if you want more than what's in the free library, you can schedule a free demo. Call 801-796-2767. We've got people that are happy to show you what's in the libraries, what they can do for you, and what other awesome stuff that Nic and his team have developed in the last few years to show you really what you can do and how eLearning Brothers can bring awesome visuals just like this one to your courses. Thanks again, Nic, for joining us today. It's been awesome. We've got a lot of great feedback here, and we hope you guys all make great dials in the future.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.